What's up, everybody? Probably not the person you were expecting to see. This has been a fun start to week 4, but at least we've got a bunch of great college football games ahead of us. If you guys have questions in the chat, drop it in here. Who you guys need to start? We'll be running through the rankings here in just a minute. Chris Moxley will be joining me, and we are going to dive right into it. Obviously, we're a little bit late. We've had some technical issues going on this morning, so we're going to jump right in and look at the quarterbacks. Quarterbacks for week 4, John Mateer is our number 1 quarterback going up against Auburn. The return of Jackson Arnold to Oklahoma. Obviously, this has a chance to be a really good game, and John Mateer has been absolutely amazing since he started the season, not just from a college fantasy football perspective, but also from an NFL perspective as well, right? So a player that I'm really looking forward to watching today should be a very, very exciting player. On the other side of that, you've got Joey Aguilar here at 2 for Tennessee going up against UAB. At 3, we have Taylon Green, Arkansas quarterback, going up against Memphis. At 4, Haynes King dethroned Clemson last week with Georgia Tech going up against Temple. At number 5, one of my favorite quarterbacks in the game currently, Washington's DeMond Williams with, I believe it's the Apple Cup is the game, Washington versus Washington State, going up there against Washington State. Chris Moxley is here, so we'll get him in here now as we continue going through the quarterback rankings. At number 6, USC's Jaden Maeva going up against Michigan State. Also should be a really good game. I think that's one of the later games of the night. At 7, Ohio's Parker Navarro going up against Gardner Webb. Then we've got at 8, Devin Dampier for Utah going up against Texas Tech. That game will be kicking off here in just a little bit. Also a game that should be one of the better ones of the day. Maverick McIver here for Western Kentucky going up against Nevada at 9. Baylor Sawyer Robertson going up against Arizona State at 10. Byron Brown and USF here at 11 going up against SC State. TCU's Josh Hoover going up against SMU at 12. Missouri's Bo Perbula. Shout out to Bo Perbula in the season that he is having so far, going up against South Carolina. At UTSA's Owen McCowan going up against Colorado State. And to round out the top 15 here, Chris, is Drew Mestamaker, North Texas, going up against Army. What is one of the main players here that stands out for you in these top 15 rankings?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of a who's who based on what we've seen thus far. I don't really know how else you can put them together, to be honest. I think I'm pretty bullish, or I don't want to say bullish, but I think Owen McCown gets right this week. I think UTSA is a big bounce back from kind of what we've seen early. They've had some tough schedule stuff. They've had weird game script stuff, but I this is a hint for later, but I think they go over this team total, which is implied team total, which is 31.5. Like I think they scored like 38-42, which means I think we see a big game out of both him and the receivers. I'm not quite sure if everybody's playing, although I lean yes based on what I've heard this week. David Amador and Devin McEwen should both be in, which helps.
All right, let's jump into the 16 through 30 quarterbacks, Chris, and then we will. I've got the questions queued up here. We will start answering those questions for you guys. So at 16, we have NC State's Cedric Bailey against Duke. At 17, Texas Tech, Baron Morton versus Utah. 18, a little bit of a not a massive fall here for Cade Klubnik, but a little bit of a dip here for Clemson going up against Syracuse. Could be a really good game. 19 is Miami's Carson Beck versus Florida. 20, Texas State's Brad Jackson against Nichols. At 21, we have Florida State's Thomas Castellanos against Kent State. At 22, Mississippi State's Blake Shapen going up against Northern Illinois. At number 23, Fernando Mendoza going up against Illinois. At 24, you have Jalen Daniels going up against Western Virginia. At 25, you've got the Civil War game today. Oregon versus Oregon State. Dante Moore quarterback there for Oregon. 26, South Alabama's Bishop Davenport going up against Coastal Carolina. At 27, UNLV's Anthony Calandria going up against Miami of Ohio. At 28, we have LSU's Garrett Nussmeier going up against Southeastern Louisiana. 29, Utah State's Bryson Barnes versus McNeese. And at 30, rounding out our top 30 here, Virginia's quarterback Chandler Morris versus Stanford. Chris, I mean, Baron Morton has been off to a pretty big start this season. Obviously, they put up 73 points last week. Did he drop a little bit in the rankings here just because they're going up against a good Utah defense?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the thesis of it, right? Like, we think Utah's probably the best defense they've played by a long shot, and there's going to be some regression in some capacity. So yeah, I mean he's still probably 3 points off of Mateer for quarterback 1, so it's not like there's a massive difference. It's just, it's a little less warm and fuzzy than it usually is. And there's some really interesting matchups this week, to be honest, like across the board, where if you are worried about the matchup, you can sit him. But like I just can't imagine sitting Morton with how good he's looked. And I think the rankings reflect that. Like there is, yes, some timidness, but not like a ton.
Yeah.
I think you just trust the people that are doing really well right now, especially quarterbacks. Taylor Green fits in this category too, of just like, I had people asking whether they should start Taylor Green, and I'm like, well, no, like he's been awesome. Like if they've been great, let them prove you wrong is my stance, and I think Morton's a good example of that.
All right, so we've got a couple quarterback questions here in the chat, Chris. Chambleese or McCowan this week here, week 4. Who you taking?
I didn't.
Oh, 2 seconds. So Chris is so I would lean. There we go. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I didn't think that Chambleese was starting this week. I thought it was going to be Simmons. So definitely
same. I did not see. I don't think they've announced it yet. We can definitely look into that. But I mean, if they say that he's starting, would you still lean McCown? I mean, we have McCown pretty high up in our rankings right now. So
I would. Yeah, I really like the matchup for UTSA this week. I think the Colorado State secondary is terrible. Yeah. I really like McCown a lot. Like I said earlier, bounce back week for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. From Sean Gresham here in the chat, start 2, McCowan, Alejandro, or sorry, it's Alejado, isn't it? Or Haynes King. I think that's a pretty easy call for me too. But
yeah, it is. So the concern with King, I think, is twofold. One is the 24-point favorites. So like, how much run does he get in the second half? And 2, we've seen historically they don't run him as much in these types of matchups, and he's already banged up. So I know we have him ranked really highly, but like, if there's pivot potential, like I wouldn't mind that as much. Although I know he's run for like 100 yards in back-to-back weeks, so I know that's difficult. And I don't want to keep going on and on about McCown, but I like the matchup. I don't think you can trust Alejado until we see him. Like even when he played, he wasn't good. So
yeah,
like I just don't know how we can start him. Like regardless of matchup, right? They get Fresno this week, and Fresno is pretty okay defensively, like relatively speaking, in terms of level of competition. So I would not start Alejado. I might not start anybody from Hawaii until we see them actually put together one good game.
Yeah, that is very fair. Justin Nottingham in the chat asked, need one quarterback, 4-point passing touchdowns. I'm gonna butcher. I'm gonna butcher first name. So we're gonna go with Nick here, from Delaware. You got Anthony Calandria or Tucker Gleason.
Yeah. I 4-point passing touchdown. So Delaware is really interesting. I really like Minichucci and what we've seen from him. Although we do have Calandria ranked higher.
Mm-hmm.
My thought is on this, the entire Delaware team, because I think they've outperformed kind of what expectations were. I think you start them. Like, I know we have Calandria higher, and I think Calandria is the safer floor option. But Miami of Ohio always has a pretty good defense. Like Chuck Martin knows how to scheme it up pretty good. So I really think that I would lean Minichucci. I'm not sure where we have him ranked. He can't be that far outside of.
No, he's 0.42 points behind Calandria in what projected fantasy points this week. So I mean, it's very close for the two of them.
Yeah, no, for sure. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think I would go Minichucci despite what the rankings say.
All right. This is an interesting one here from Drew Morrow, 3 QB league. He's got to start in his 3rd QB spot. Dylan Raiola or CJ Carr. I mean, I would probably lean Carr just because of the matchup personally. But what are your thoughts here? Because Raiola's getting, I think it's at home, but still, it's going up against a fairly good Michigan defense. Still,
yeah. I mean, so the CJ Carr stuff is interesting because he's a 0 on the ground. So if so is Raiola, I guess, in the context of this question. So it doesn't really matter what your format is. I think I would go Carr. Like Carr has not played bad. I don't think. Like I think he's been okay. Not that Raiola has played bad, but like it's a much tougher matchup. Like I know Purdue think this is kind of in the weeds, but Purdue actually moved the ball okay last week against
They did not
USC.
look
So
horrible.
I kind of wondered if there's going to be enough back and forth here for Carr to like potentially put up numbers. Like I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility. So I think I would go Carr.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I'll say with Carr is we've now got 2 games of, again, I don't disagree with you. Like, he's not a rushing threat, but Denbrock has like had him rush a little bit. So like, I don't know if they're trying to add that to his game where Dylan Raiola, they're not going to do that at all with Raiola. So you might luck into a rushing touchdown with Carr like you got in that week 1 matchup against Miami, right? Like that was, you might luck into that a little bit more because they're actually doing that for whatever reason. And Carr is not. I actually probably think if you were to go to our athleticism database, Raiola's probably a better athlete. I don't even think probably. I would put money on it that he is.
I mean, Carr looks so awkward running. But that's just what Denbrock does. Although he didn't design as much stuff against A&M. Like Miami was a lot, but last week he finished with negative yards.
So Daniel Gwynn asked, keys between CJ Carr and Kevin Jennings. So for our projections, they're 6 spots apart, but they're like 0.51 away from each other. So I don't disagree with your reasoning there in the chat there, Daniel. I mean, Kevin Jennings likely in a shootout with TCU. I think I'd lean Jennings over Carr.
I would too.
All right. So that's all the quarterback ones for now. I do see, Lewis, yours for the wide receivers. We'll get to that in just a minute. Mox, let's dive into our running back rankings here for week 4. And we're going to start with number 1. We've got Baylor's Bryson Washington going up against Arizona State. I think an underrated game of this week, by the way. I'm glad we're picking that game later. It should be a really good game this week. At 2, you have Washington's Jonah Coleman going up against Washington State. At 3, we got Waymon Jordan going up against Michigan State. 4, Al J. Henderson against Troy. At 5, we were just talking about Dylan Raiola in Nebraska going up against Michigan with running back Emmett Johnson. At 6, we have NC State's Dalen Smothers going up against Duke. At 7, Justice Haynes going up against Nebraska. I'm sorry, that was 7. At 8, Kewan Lacey going up against Tulane. At 9, UTSA's Robert Henry, who has been off to a phenomenal start this season, versus Colorado State. At 10, my favorite player in all of college football, Missouri's Ahmad Hardy, going up against South Carolina. At 11, Notre Dame's Jeremiah Love versus Purdue. At 12, Louisville's Isaac Brown versus Bowling Green. At 13, we have Virginia's Jamari Taylor going up against Stanford. 14, Utah's Wayshawn Parker against Texas Tech. And 15, Chip Trayanum from Toledo going up against Western Michigan. Chris, a little bit of foreshadowing here. Kewan Lacey. I mean, he's been obviously those first 2 weeks were really good. Last week, a small step back rushing wise. I believe only 98 yards. He did go over the rushing prop. But again, scored another touchdown. Are we thinking again? It's a little bit of a weaker opponent. Do we think Kewan Lacey dominates again today?
I mean, he's getting enough touches. So yeah, Tulane is not. They have a good defense, like legit defense, like stronger than the defense they probably played against Arkansas last week, to be totally honest. But I like personally, just the usage is just incredible. So I just think you keep rolling with him until Lane either looks elsewhere or the matchup is just like terrible. I don't think that's the case this week.
Yeah. What about Wayshawn Parker going up against Texas Tech? He's, I don't want to say had a bad start to the season, but it hasn't been quite what everybody was hoping. It's still here in the top 15. So we're expecting a probably, because this could be a shootout. I think this arguably could end up being the best game of the day, especially with Devin Dampier, which I believe I accidentally spelt his name wrong on the graphics. So we're going to have to fire me from graphics like we did Colin last week.
Yeah. So Parker is interesting because he's splitting a lot with Naquari Rogers, and they don't. I hate when that happens, when you load another window and the video plays. Sorry. He's been splitting a lot with Naquari Rogers, but he hasn't had to tote the rock. And I think he's a much better back. So these all games have all been shootouts. I don't think that's the case this week. The spread's 3.5. The totals in the upper 50s. I don't know that it's going to be a shootout per se, but I do think a close game where Utah wants to rely on their offensive line, which is probably one of the best in the country. I think this is the week where we see Parker get maybe like double digit, like more than 10 carries in the game. I think this is like a 15 carry, potentially couple target game. We know that he has that skill set in some capacity.
Out of this top 15, who's the player you're worried about underperforming, whether it's based on matchup, maybe it's touches, as you were just talking about with Wayshawn Parker?
If USC gets like way out ahead, Waylon Jordan could be eliminated again. He's clearly the best back there, and like they clearly want to run him, but how much? Emmett Johnson has a really tough matchup. Like I just can't imagine sitting him considering the usage. So like that could probably be it. I would guess, and then. Yeah, I mean, I just like a lot of the matchups outside of that, really, on this list. Like, I feel like you're going to get usage and you're going to get efficiency. So maybe Isaac Brown gets pulled. Maybe that's the one other one, right? Like they get Duke Watson a little bit more work, but they haven't done that so far this year all that much. Like he is not like Brown's getting a huge portion of that share. So I don't know that that's going to happen. And even if it does, he gets like 12 carries and he runs for like 100 yards.
Yeah.
To me, that's kind of the Isaac Brown forward. So I don't know. There's not as many FCS matchups, so that kind of helps with the certainty, I think, at the top.
Yeah, I would say Emmett Johnson's one that stands out for me too. Again, I know it's not quite the Michigan defense of like the past couple of years, but I still think that they have overall very good defense. I feel like they played really well to start this season, so that could be a tough one, especially if they're able to kind of get after Dylan Raiola. I'll be very curious to see what the run game looks like here for Nebraska. But again, as you mentioned, the usage, it's really kind of hard. With what he's done to start this, it's really hard to just sit him and assume he's not going to at least do something for you because of the matchup. I do think it could be a close game. So,
and I do think Michigan's defense is really good, but like I don't know that it's like matchup proof. Like you have to sit whoever you're starting against them.
Yeah. All right, so starting here at number 16, my guy Cam Cook going up against Murray State. At 17, we have Kentrell Bullock going up against Coastal Carolina. 18, we have Kansas's Daniel Highshaw Jr. going up against West Virginia. 19, Fresno State's Bryson Donaldson going up against Hawaii. At 20, Texas State's Lincoln Perry going up against Nichols. At 21, Jamal Haynes versus Temple. At 22, and I'm going to be honest, I did not realize, I don't know how I missed this. I didn't realize Jeremiah Cobb was actually starting for Auburn.
Oh, yeah.
Jeremiah Cobb, and he's been good too, right? Like I don't know how I completely missed that. But Jeremiah Cobb for Auburn going up against Oklahoma. We have UConn's Cam Edwards coming in here at 23 versus Ball State. At 24, we have Arkansas's Mike Washington versus Memphis. At 29, Miami's Mark Fletcher versus Florida. 26, BYU's LJ Martin versus East Carolina. 27, Memphis's Sutton Smith going up against Arkansas. At 28, Saban Gura versus Gardner Webb. 29, Ty Edwards versus Kansas. And number 30, Anthony Hankerson going up against Oregon. Chris, give me a name here that stands out to you.
Where to start? Because I think this is such an interesting list of players. With like good matchups, bad matchups, high usage, low usage. I think there's a little bit of concern that people seem to be having around Bryson Donaldson.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that it's unfounded, but like Rayshawn Luke, Speedy Luke, getting a lot of work. And really doing really great with those touches. So I do think people are a little hesitant here. I'm not. I don't think much of the Hawaii defense. The offense coming to the season was always going to be very rush heavy. And I think there's room for two backs, especially if one's like super efficient. I think I'm still rolling with Donaldson no matter what. The one player on this list that I am a little scared starting is Jeremiah Cobb. I just think like the Oklahoma defense could totally shut him down. Yeah. And that would be not great because I don't know that like even if he has 15 touches like that could be like 15 for 60, no touchdowns. Like a little worrisome. But who's the one other player that I think is so there's been a lot of talk about Ty Edwards, the running back of West Virginia this week, stepping into the Jaheim White role last week. I think there's a reason to be pretty optimistic about him moving forward. This week is a combination of let's actually see what the role is for sure before we kind of like make those decisions. And they're like 2 touchdown underdogs to Kansas. Like I think this could be just a fall flat on their face week after Narduzzi just made bonehead decisions to lose the game last week.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on Jeremiah Cobb, mainly because of the Oklahoma defense. Now, I would say the best running back they've played up until this point has been Justice Haynes. I mean, he did get over 100 yards on him, but a lot, and almost all of that came on the one big run. He had that 75-yard run. Outside of that, which again, I know, we always talk about you can't pick and choose, but if you take that away, he has 50 other carries on 8 yards. That's 2.6 yards a carry. Like, they really shut him down. And I mean, Underwood was having an okay game there as well. So I'll be very curious. I mean, here's the thing, right? Like, say what you want about Oklahoma. And again, I was kind of one of their biggest detractors to start the season. And I'm not even going to make this just about John Mateer, who, again, I think has really kind of proven me wrong. And I'm very happy for him. We talk a lot about here. There's nothing more we love than these players proving us wrong. I've loved what I've seen out of John Mateer. But we also got to remember that, like, Brent Venables is their head coach, was considered probably, if not the best defensive-minded coach in the game before he became a head coach there. And he's been with Jackson Arnold for the past couple years. Like, I think the guy probably knows how to get after Jackson Arnold. And I understand Hugh Freeze is probably going to mix some things up and change some things for him. But at the end of the day, I think, you've got to take that into account here, that he's going up against his old team. He's coming all the way back to Oklahoma. I don't know if Nate's watching the show. I don't know how Oklahoma fans feel about Jackson Arnold, but from everything I've seen, it's not, they don't really necessarily love the guy. Yeah. So, yeah. I think they would love nothing more than to kind of beat them, and I think Brent Venables is going to have a pretty good game plan against that, and I think that could end up affecting Jeremiah Cobb as well.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
On the Auburn situation real quick, I kind of expect them to throw more this week.
Okay.
I think Venables will take away Arnold in the run game. Whether or not that works is a different question.
Okay.
So,
yeah. I mean,
I don't know that it's going to happen, but it's a real. I think that's the game plan.
What was I going to say? He hasn't been very effective throwing the ball, but maybe that was the okey doke, right? Maybe they've been like, Jackson, we want you to go out those first couple weeks and just look horrible throwing the ball. So when we get to Oklahoma, you look like, Patrick Mahomes out there. You never know. We could be wrong. Maybe Hugh Freeze is playing all of us here. Colin asked in the chat here, any reservations with Ahmad Hardy versus South Carolina with a lower projected Vegas game total today?
I understand the question, for sure. I just think you have to start him. Okay. South Carolina's defensive front is not nearly as good as it was last year. So you're not as worried from a matchup perspective. They're pretty heavy favorites. Like, if we're being totally honest, like I expect them to roll over South Carolina today, even with Sellers. So I think the game script helps. I think it's the kind of matchup where you could see Hardy salt away the game late. Don't have Perbula drop back. I think 20 touches is pretty much within the realm of possibility. So I like Hardy.
All right. Then we've got a question from Todd here. Todd Skids, absolute yuck at running back this week. We have Javon Jackson going up against Tennessee, Elijah Green versus Texas, Anthony Hankerson versus Oregon, or Hail Mary, Duncan Brune versus Gardner Webb.
Okay. I don't think you can start Javon Jackson. I think that's just too challenging of a matchup. Too big of a dog. Elijah Green's terrible matchup as well. Really big dog. Hankerson's going to get the usage. Terrible. All of these are 5 touchdown spreads.
Yeah.
Right. I think Duncan Brune is an interesting option. I mean, basically your path forward is he gets a ton of touches because they're blowing them out, and Stephen Gora sits at the second half. If it was me, I would start Anthony Hankerson personally.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I just think he's still going to get the usage. And at that point, just move forward with it. I just, it's a tough one for sure. But he's the best player too. And you probably took him top 10 if it's a CFF draft.
Yeah, Todd, I don't know if you only have to start one. If you're starting one, I'm going with Hankerson. Again, like Chris said, that's the one that is going to be at least getting the ball. And here's the one thing. I get Oregon State is not a good team here, but we've seen sometimes in these rivalry games, even just a couple of years ago, Oregon State upset Oregon and was not necessarily a good team. I think that even if Hankerson gets 60 yards and a touchdown, you'll be happy. You'll be happy with that. Maybe he doesn't even get that, but I think he could possibly do enough for you. I just don't trust Jackson going up against Tennessee or Green against Texas. I really do not feel good about. So, I mean, if you want to play Brune, as Chris said, sure. But I think Hankerson's the safest bet out of all those if you just need one.
I didn't even know who Brune was until this week. I had literally never heard of the name. I'm like, who's this white kid from Ohio? And I was going through the data. I was like, oh, he's getting like actual touches. Interesting.
So we've got Daniel again in the chat said, thoughts on Rodney Fields last night, clear RB1 usage and looked good.
So I have not watched the game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I didn't watch it either, to be honest.
The game kicks off at like 3 a.m. my time. So like I didn't have a chance to watch it. And I probably won't go back and watch it, to be frank. Maybe I'll watch like the highlight package or something. Because I don't want to watch Oklahoma State get curb stomped by Tulsa under first year head coach with like a ton of roster turnover and a backup quarterback. Mike Gundy should resign in disgrace. I don't know. They're going to be big underdogs in like every game they play moving forward. So like that's just a tough spot for running back to be in.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't know how he looked. Like I see the efficiency. He got a ton of touches. Like it looks great on paper. But I think I would be lying if I said that I had a good feeling on the situation.
Yeah, I unfortunately did not get a chance to watch the game either last night. We had a lot going on here, but I will go back and watch it, so I can definitely give you my thoughts on that. If you watch C2C Live later this week, Daniel, we'd be happy to have a discussion about him. We've got a question from Colton Lassiter here on X. He says, Chip Trayanum, Chris Brazil, or Danny Scudero here. Did he say pick one or two? I'm sorry. Pick two of the three. Two of the three can start.
So I think you're looking at, to me, pretty clearly Trayanum and Scudero. Okay. And I think it's really scary sitting Chris Brazil. Like I understand the rationale behind it because he could go like 3 for 120 and 2.
Yeah.
I think Trayanum's usage is really good, and I think when you're looking at Scudero, like you're looking at a player who could also lead the country in targets. It's a tough, like that's a legit, like a really tough question. I think receivers are coming up next, so we'll see where they rank like by each other. I'm sure they're both in the top 15, but I think I personally would go Trayanum and Scudero. I like starting a running back over a receiver, but if it's half PPR, that might be a little bit different and kind of shady one way or the other. But if it's full PPR, I still think I would go Trayanum.
Yeah. I think for sure you have to start Scudero. And then I guess it's one of those questions where, like, two things can be true at the same time. I don't know that starting, Brazil or Trayanum is a bad decision, whichever one you choose. But I would lean with Chris there on taking Trayanum. All right, let's jump into the wide receivers. I'm seeing a bunch of wide receiver questions come in here. So we are going to start here, obviously, with the top here. Jordan Tyson, number 1, going up against Baylor. We just, as the aforementioned, Danny Scudero coming in here at 2 versus Idaho. At number 3, we have Ohio's Chase Hendricks versus Gardner Webb. At 4, Clemson's Bryant Wesco versus Syracuse. At 5, Devin Voisin versus Coastal Carolina. At 6, we have Washington's Denzel Boston versus Washington State. At 7, Bo Sparks against Nichols. At 8, TCU's Jordan Dwyer versus SMU. At 9, Mekhi Lemon going up against Michigan State. 10, Toledo's Junior Vanderross versus Western Michigan. At 11, Texas Tech Coy Eakin versus Utah. At 12, Brennan Thompson versus Northern Illinois. At 11, Arkansas's Omega Blake versus Memphis. 14, Illinois' Hank Beatty versus Indiana. At number 15, Missouri's Kevin Coleman versus South Carolina. You know what? I want to give it up real quick. Props to Missouri. That is 3 players in the top 15. Bo Pribula at quarterback, Ahmad Hardy at running back, and now Kevin Coleman here at wide receiver. Chris, they are going up against your team in South Carolina. Is there any concern here that all 3 of these guys will not produce this weekend?
Sure. For all of them to finish the top 15 of their position is probably very unlikely. This is like the average outcome would be like he's probably top 15 receiver, but for Hardy and Coleman to both pay off is unlikely. It's probably one or the other, but I still think Coleman is the wide receiver 1 there. They're passing a lot. He's looked really good. He's in the coveted slot position. Like there's a lot to like. Like I'm not sitting him. I understand the game script could like hurt, but I think you just start your Missouri players. Period. The matchup isn't bad enough to sit them.
Okay. Who stands out here for you as a guy that you either really trust this week or as a guy that you're fading a little bit in this top 15?
I think Chase Hendricks is super interesting. I mean, like, he's getting so much volume. It's kind of crazy how much he's climbed up rankings, for sure. That's more just an observation than anything. This is the week we talked about it last week, and I said I would make the change if it happened, and it happened. Jordan Dwyer still out targeted Eric McAllister, so Jordan Dwyer is now the wide receiver 1 in our projections. I think McAllister is still in the top 30. I like both players a lot, but Dwyer is the wide receiver 1 until otherwise.
And then Donald just posted in the chat, which thank you, Donald. Corey Milner is out per Fantrax.
That's a big loss because he's a huge part of that offense. Like, he's by far their best player.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Corey. Daniel. We will definitely jump into players who will be out here in the next couple minutes. Let's get through the rest of the tight end rankings, though. At number 16, we have Oklahoma's Deion Burks versus Auburn. At 17, Miami's Malachi Toney versus Florida. At 18, UConn's Skylar Bell versus Ball State. 19, we have Florida State's Deuce Robinson versus Kent State. At 20, Indiana's Elijah Surratt versus Illinois. At 27, Tennessee's Chris Brazzell versus UAB. 22, Keyshawn Singleton versus SC State. At 23, Josh Cameron versus Arizona State. 24, Devin McEwen versus Colorado State. At 25, we have Terry Lockett Jr. versus Louisiana. At 26, Oregon State's Trent Walker versus Oregon. 27, Duke's Cooper Barcate versus NC State. Or is it Barcade? I actually don't know how to...
It's just Barcade. It's not Barcade.
Oh, man. Barcate. Barcate sounds a lot more, a lot more sexier. At 28, we have Western Kentucky's Matthew Henry versus Nevada. At 28, Ole Miss's Harrison Wallace versus Tulane. And number 30, Musa Berry versus Nevada. Who's the guy that stands out here for you, Mox?
Deuce Robinson is really interesting. I think that he's wide receiver 1 there, and I'm pretty pleased with his usage this far. Skylar Bell, I think you can trust him moving forward too. UConn offense actually looks pretty decent, and he's clearly the double-digit target wide receiver 1, hands down. Excited to see Keyshawn Singleton on this list. Think he's just a really good wide receiver. Trent Walker's got a tough matchup, but I think if you're in a PPR league, he's still a start. If you're not, it's maybe a little dicier, but these rankings are assuming PPR. I think he's going to get 6 targets or at least 6 catches. Mm-hmm. It is a tough matchup. I get it, though. Cooper Barcade is really interesting. He's a player coming in from Harvard who was really good at the Ivy League level, and I didn't know how he would translate, but looks really good. Duke kind of spreads their targets out a little bit with Quayshawn Brown. Shamir Higgins gets some, and there's quite a few wide receivers there, but I think he's the one, and he's pretty interesting.
All right, so now that we've gotten into these, Lewis, apologies for taking so long to get to this. So we've got Josh Cameron from Baylor, Emmanuel Henderson, Kansas wide receiver, going up against West Virginia, or Western Kentucky's Matthew Henry versus Nevada. Mox. To me, this is pretty easy, but which way would you lean?
So Cameron is higher, and I think that game's going to be pretty competitive. Yeah, I would not start Henderson because I don't know enough about that role still. I feel like I still haven't a really tenuous grasp on the Kansas pecking order, really. I like Henry, but I kind of need to see it again. It hasn't really happened. Or he had the week 1 blow up, and then now we're kind of okay, what's actually his role? And how good is he? And there's more questions. Cameron is by far the most settled into his role. Huge part of the passing offense that throws for 400 yards a game because their defense sucks. So yeah, I think I'll go Cameron.
Yeah, I would lean Cameron as well. Again, I think that matchup has a chance to be really good with the way Arizona State has looked like they bounced back against Mississippi State. Baylor's offense is looking really good as well. I think both these teams could put up a lot of points. This could be a very fun shootout today. So I would lean Cameron as well. Lewis Hill is letting us know in the chat that Ty Edwards has a red flag next to his name on Fantrax, but saying likely to play. So that's something to monitor. If we get an update saying that he is out, we will definitely mention that here toward the end of the show. Daniel Gwynn says in the chat, I have Jonathan Silver in my last flex spot currently over Adam Randall and Jadarian Price. Doesn't feel great. Randall or Price over him.
So I tend to agree. It doesn't feel great. I like Jonathan Silver a lot. Actually, like I think he's a pretty good player. He came in and replaced Marcus Yarns, who was like an actual like NFL quality player. But I don't know the usage is like quite there yet. He's really efficient with his touches, but we haven't seen like true bell cow usage. Vera Nelson's getting work too. I might go Randall here. Like the game script is that he's the best back on the roster, which is like saying something that's still true. And I don't really want to start Price, I guess, the RB2. Like I think Price will be fine. Yeah. If you need a floor play, you need a dude who's going to go out and get you like 13 points, 14 points. I think that's Jadarian Price. I don't know that Jadarian Price has 25-point upside. I do think that's true of Randall and maybe Silver, but I think I'm pretty sure I would go Randall first, and then if you need floor, Price is going to get usage.
Yeah, I would go Randall as well as I don't know, as weird as that feels. And yeah, I was really kind of hoping Silver would have a better year, but I think once Delaware starts getting more into conference play, he will be a lot better. Like I don't think he's looked bad per se. I think it's just obviously some of the opponents they've played has not been great for him. Let's see here. Dang it, I just had the comment from Sean here. There we go. Sean asked, Rayshawn Luke, Raleek Brown, or Daniel Hishaw Jr. or Hishaw.
Is Kyson Brown back this week for Arizona State? I didn't think so, but I wasn't sure. If Kyson Brown's back, like definitely not. Yeah. I think probably regardless, I would go Hishaw. I think our rankings have him the highest of all these players. Yes, I really like the role. I like his usage. I don't think LaShawn Williams is any good at behind him. Big spread. Kansas offense looks like it did like 2 years ago. I really like the play. I really like Hishaw.
Yeah, if for our rankings and projections, Hishaw is at number 18. We have Raleek Brown at 32. About 70 points behind him, 0.70 points behind him. I'm sorry. And then Fresno State's Rayshawn Luke's a pretty decent amount below both of them down there at 47. Not projected very highly. So yeah, I would probably go with Hishaw as well. Then we've got Taylor Harris here with Jalen Buckley versus Toledo or Sire Gaines versus Air Force.
That's actually a really tough question. I feel like we don't really have a good grasp on Western Michigan either. Like the matchups have been meh, and Buckley hasn't really not looked good.
Yeah.
Through 3 weeks, they played North Texas and he still had like three yards per carry or something terrible. 2 Power 4 opponents. I know it's tough to get a grasp. I just don't really want to roll out Buckley right now until I see it. So I think I would go Gaines.
All right, that's fair. Would you like to know how big the difference is in the projections?
It's probably quite a bit.
It is. Jalen Buckley. I mean, it's about a over a point difference. Jalen Buckley have ranked at 34 this week. Sire Gaines 62.
Wow, so that surprises me. I guess. How I do it is there's a lot of preseason weight still in these projections, so that makes sense to me. I personally would go Gaines, but he is fighting for touches, etc. Like I understand.
Yeah, I would if that's what Mox says, I would definitely lean with Mox. CFB Andy asks Hank Beatty, the Illinois wide receiver versus Indiana. Are we going Ty Edwards running back West Virginia versus Kansas?
I mean, I'm pretty sure we have Beatty ranked higher in terms of points.
We do,
but
yes,
yeah, that's what I figured. Okay, and I agree with that. I think Beatty's been like really impressive.
Yeah,
100-yard games to start, and then when they were crushing Western Michigan, still put up a respectable stat line. I think got like 17 or 18 points last week. Like he's a big part of the offense. I expect this game to be really competitive, so I'm rolling with Beatty. I think Beatty's a staple in your lineup until he's not.
Yeah. That's right. And the one thing, again, CFB, Andy, if you missed this earlier, we did have people posting that Edwards is expected to play, but does have the red flag next to him. So maybe something to watch out for if you don't want to take the risk, just start Beatty. But we do have Beatty projected by decent amount ahead of him in points this week. And then last one, I don't even know what the discussion's about here, but I guess Quinn Ewers is looking better than Arch Manning. We probably should just throw that out there. Thanks, Todd. I'm not really sure what exactly is going on in the chat. There's so much going on. Can't keep up with. Chris, let's talk about your favorite position here, though, the tight ends for week 4. We have got Eli Stowers here at number 1 again, going up against Georgia State. I think you could argue probably the best tight end in all of college football right now. Or is that even an argument?
Yeah. I mean, depending on what you're asking, but yeah, he's been a huge part of the offense like he was last year.
At number 2, we have NC State's Justin Jolie versus Duke. At 3, Oregon's Kenyon Sadiq versus Oregon State. At 4, Texas Tech's Terrence Carter versus Utah. At number 5, Oklahoma's Jaren Kanak versus Auburn. 6, Baylor's Michael Trigg versus Arizona State. Also, just want to mention that Trigg has been limited most of the week and is expected to play, but do watch out for that. Notre Dame's Eli Reardon versus Purdue at 7. At 8, you have Syracuse's Dan Villari versus Clemson. At 9, Wyoming's John Michael Gillenborg versus Colorado. 10, we have Missouri's Brent Norfleet versus South Carolina. 11, we have Maryland's Dorian Fleming versus Wisconsin. At 12, Boise State's Matthew Lauder versus Air Force. 13, Texas's Jack Andrees versus Sam Houston. 14, Colorado State's Jackson Warren versus UTSA. And at number 15, Mississippi State's, is it Seydou Traore?
Yeah.
Let's go. Versus Northern Illinois. Again, just want to point out how much things have changed for Missouri since, QB1 Bo Prabula has showed up. A top 15 player at every single position. Bravo to them. And against a good look, say what you want. I understand South Carolina hasn't been as impressive as everybody wanted them to be to start off the season. That's still pretty impressive to have all those guys in the top 15 against a good South Carolina team.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. So tight end is kind of weird right now because Carter's been excellent. Kanak's been excellent. Reardon's been excellent. Villari's been excellent. And yet they're still behind Sadiq, Jolly, and Stowers, who I think all offseason I kind of treated as the big 3 of tight end. I think it was big 2 and then Jolly following up. Stowers hasn't been amazing. You're looking for tight end, like more touchdown production. It hasn't come. I think that's going to get normalized. They're big favorites this week. I don't know they're going to run Pavia all that much. So I think there might be more throwing in the game script this week. So you can't sit Stowers. You can't sit Jolly. You can't sit Sadiq. Yeah. Like you can't sit these players. So you're starting them no matter what. So at this point, like their ranking probably doesn't really matter. I think you have to keep them there until they're no longer featured parts of the offense, and they all still are. The list is kind of just the list. All these tight ends are performing well, and they could also give you a 0 on the week. I'm not sure of anything more insightful than that. That's a good question in the chat from Lewis, though.
Yeah, I'll throw it up here in just a second.
Read it, yeah.
Yeah. You want to go to that now? Or you want to talk any more of the tight ends here on the list?
Jack Andrews feels a little low.
Okay. All right. So yeah, we've got a chat here from Lewis Hill. My tight end room is just awful. Was planning on trading Katron Allen for Justin Jolie, but no idea if that's a fair offer or what value needs to be added to either side to make it a fair trade.
So it depends on what format this is. I believe, I don't know how many leagues you're in, Lewis, but I think last time we were talking, it was a C2C league. To me, if I had Jolly, I would say no. But I don't know that that's super off base either. I think Katron Allen's going to get drafted in the NFL draft. I believe Jolly probably is too, but I think Jolly's college fantasy value outweighs that for the current season because Katron Allen is like he's like an NFL backup. Like there's no role where he's going to be a long-time starter in the NFL, even if he goes like round 3 or 4. It is a C2C league. He clarified in the chat for us. Yeah, that's what I thought. It's probably a fair offer though. Yeah. I would say so.
Yeah, I think it's very close just because, and again, I think it really depends on knowing your league mates here, Lewis. If you know people value that NFL draft side, I don't disagree with Chris. Like, I think that not only is Allen going to get drafted, I think just because he is that first and second down grinder that some NFL coaches just absolutely love, there is that chance that he's drafted sometime late day 2. Like, it would not surprise me if he's like one of the last picks in the 3rd round, and that is going to increase his value from a standpoint of people looking at, well, hey, this guy was drafted in round 3. It's going to get, and people, I think, unfairly, which I think is one of the things like Chris always, stands on a hill for on tight ends. They undervalue tight ends, and especially their value going into the NFL, because there's just so many guys that all of them are so grouped together outside of a decent amount. And I don't know personally what I think of Justin Jolie as like an NFL tight end. I know Felix was very high on him. He's like Jolie for, I think, like the past 2 years, at least at this point. I think it's very close. I don't think that you would have to offer much more if you're planning on doing. I wouldn't mind offering it straight up. And then if they say no, like Chris said he would, maybe offering a little bit more. I don't think it's got to be like a very good player. And I wouldn't go higher than like maybe a 5th or 6th round pick. So I don't think you need to add like a 2nd or 3rd to that to push this over the edge. I think it's fairly close.
I think you could get Joey plus something.
That's fair.
Personally. Yeah. I would not be totally shocked if he was day 2 pick as well, though. So I think I personally like Jolie, but it's very close.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind Jolie either. I think, again, it just goes to knowing your league mates. Again, I think a lot of people undervalue the tight end unless it's a guy that which Jolie, I think, has been a guy we've talked about for a couple of years, but it's like trying to think of who's a guy over the past couple of years that everybody just loved and then just disappointed.
Michael Trigg.
Yeah, like Michael Trigg, or who's Notre Dame's tight end? I mean, don't get me wrong, he was great for us in CFF, right. But Michael Mayer, like he's done nothing at the end, right? So that's the part where I think people get worried about tight ends, because I think that is by far, a lot of people say quarterbacks are the hardest position, I think, to project future success for. I think it's tight end, because you have to do so much at tight end. You're learning at times be an offensive lineman, a blocker, a wide receiver, like everything. So I think it's a little bit harder to project those guys. So I think people overlook them a little bit, but I'm with you. I would not be surprised if Jolie gets drafted day 2 as well. Like I said, I think it's close. It really just depends on your league mate. If you got someone like Chris, there might be someone who's like, oh, I'll take Katron Allen because I think he's going to be a day 2 pick. And he's been, weirdly enough, he's been better than Nicholas Singleton this year for Penn State. I mean, I don't think either one of them has been great for you, but he's been better. So I think, again, a close trade. I think you will have to add a little bit more, though, to get Jolie. Drew Morrow asks in the chat, in a 12-team C2C, do you think Terry McLaurin and Mark Andrews for Nick Singleton and Denzel Boston is fair? I have McLaurin and Andrews, but my NFL side is bad. Ooh, man, I've never suggest trading, but you're going to give up 2 NFL guys for two college guys. I mean, Boston's been good. Singleton's been so hit and miss. I don't know.
Is Andrews still a top tight end?
No, I don't think so. He's not been what he was for probably good 3-4 years. I can't remember when he came out.
I didn't know that. Okay.
I don't know that he stinks. I'm actually trying to pull up what he did. I don't think he's been good, at least to start off the season. I know last year he dealt with a lot of injuries, so
I'm the wrong person to ask this question, to be honest. I have no idea. Legitimately no idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think the 2 of us on here are probably not the best. My pay attention to NFL has severely fallen off. So last week he scored 1.9 points, 2 points in week 1 against Buffalo. Last year he finished as let's see here, tight end. No, he finished as tight end 6 last year. 15 before that. He's been top 10 every year outside of 2023, and right now he's tight end 56, which is obviously not great. But I'm going to be honest with you, Drew. I know you're in the Discord. If you want, ask Austin or one of those guys. Like, I'll be honest, I've not been able to pay a lot of attention to the NFL this year. I know, like I said, Andrews has not been doing great. I don't know if that's because of an injury or anything else, but definitely aside, I just don't feel great about giving up 2 NFL players for.
I would take the college player side, knowing with my limited knowledge of the situation.
I think you could probably get a little bit more. My biggest fear is I just have so much. I worry so much about Nicholas Singleton right now because
he's a top 50 pick.
I know. No, I'm not worried about that. He is going to be a top 50 pick. I would not be surprised if he's like a top 36. Austin already answered. Thank you, Austin. I would not be surprised if he's like a top 40 pick, right? My biggest fear, he has not improved a single bit since the day he stepped on the field as a freshman. That's what I'm worried about. Like, he's not and I think
the answer to this question is as straightforward as Denzel Boston's a top 50 pick, and so is Nick Singleton.
Singleton probably is. Yeah. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. If that's the way you want to look on it, I'm great. Yeah, I mean, they're all answering in the chat and leaning with you. Colin Singleton, Boston side for him. Boston's being mocked in the first round. I did not know that. So yeah. Jim says he likes to trade for you since Terry is 30 and Andrew's value is sinking. So yeah, everybody is leaning that side. So yeah, I mean, what's that line in World War Z? If 9 people all agree, go to the 10th guy and just make them disagree. I'll just be the 10th guy and disagree. But the other 9 are probably more likely right than wrong. All right, Chris, I meant to ask you, do you have any betting picks that you want to give the people this week?
Yeah. So last week was an 0-2 week. So we're at 4-3 on the season. Not amazing. Reads last week. I don't know. There were, I think there were games that we're still feeling out because that was kind of the first week where we saw real action against each other. So I feel like we have another data point and a real data point now to build off some of the stuff.
Yeah.
What is this still at? Let me make sure it didn't move too much. Okay. Yeah. So this is -130. So it is a lot of juice. And I don't really like doing this, but I think Tennessee's first quarter team total 13.5 should be -180 or -190. That doesn't make any sense. That it's priced that low, and that's on Bet365. That's the only place it's priced correctly everywhere else. So you're looking at 60 cents. I just think UAB is terrible, and Tennessee will score twice in the first quarter. Give me Temple plus 24.5. This is a pretty popular pick this week, so I'm not breaking any ground with this one, but the idea is Haynes King doesn't really run that much, and Georgia Tech is kind of coming off a pretty big emotional win. Temple looked bad last week. I think they're going to try to rebound. I think the game gets slow. I don't think Georgia Tech tries to run it up. And 24 points is a lot if you think that King doesn't get a ton of usage and the offense is pretty simple. So it is 24.5. So, yeah, I'll give you this one too, because I talked about it earlier. And that's UTSA over 31.5 team total. Okay. That's -110. I just think they're going to score. I mean, we've been talking about UTSA all day. I think Owen McCown really gets going against Colorado State. And I think the offense scores closer to 35, 38. And 31 is just below. There's some key numbers as you get higher and higher, but 31 is fine. 31 is key. 31.5 is, in my opinion, still good. I liked it at 32.5, and the total went down. So kind of derivatives move that way. But it's fine. I like the over there.
All right. Let's jump into our underdog picks for the week. I think I'm professionally obligated to mention that Colin Decker is on a heater, and he has yet to get a underdog pick wrong. I believe he's 8 for 8 now at this point in the season. So he sent his picks in because he wanted you guys to win some money, as he said. He even did the money sign for those of you, throwing those dollar bills all over the place. He is going with Bryant Westgo's higher at the 12.9 fantasy points here on the week. He is taking Jake Retzlaff's higher on 0.5 rush plus receiving touchdown. And he's also taking the higher on Sam Levitt's 250.5 pass plus rush yards. I actually really like that Sam Levitt one, especially with this. The only thing that worries me with the Sam Levitt one on the plus rush and pass yards is that offensive line has been really bad. And I wonder how much negative rushing yards he will get. But I mean, he's, again, played really good the past 2 weeks. For me, mine this week, I'm going all with rushing touchdowns. I mentioned it earlier. Key one, Lacey's been really good. I'm taking his higher on 0.5 rushing touchdowns. Again, I just think he scores. He has been the guy down in the red zone. They've given him the ball a ton. Whether Austin Simmons is out there, whether it's Chamblees, with the injury possibly, I think that they were going to continue to rely on Lacey. I think he has another big game here. I am going higher on John Mateer's 0.5 rush touchdown as well. Mateer's been great to start off the season with his legs. Would not be surprised if there's some kind of play down in the red zone where they end up calling him to make a scramble into the red zone there for a touchdown, especially if they try to run this up on Auburn, which, again, I think they will. And last but not least, Devin Dampier is higher on his 0.5 rush plus receiving touchdown as well. I think this has a chance to be a really good game. And look, the one thing, Dampier's looked better, in my opinion, as a passer this year than what I saw last year, but his bread and butter comes from that rushing, and I think he's going to use it again today versus Texas. I think he had like I think he's got 5 or 6 rushing touchdowns on the season right now. Like, he's been incredible to start off the year, and I think he's going to get in the end zone again today with his legs.
Yeah, I like what both you and Colin are doing. Colin's killing it. Just,
yeah,
if you're telling anybody, tailing him. My first 2 are basically the same thesis, which is Cade Klubnik higher 2.5 pass touchdowns, and Joey Aguilar higher 2.5 pass touchdowns. I think both offenses score a ton of points. Syracuse defense is terrible. I think this is a get-right spot for Clemson's offense. Like, I really think that we could see a monster game from Cade, and I think he gets that third touchdown. That's kind of been eluding him most of the season. I just talked about how much I love the Tennessee offense this week. I think Aguilar could legitimately get us in the first quarter. He's going to get pulled at some point in this game, so that's the concern that we're working with. But I think they score like 35, 38 points by halftime. And if he's that many points, like, you would think that variance means Aguilar has a good chunk of those as well. And he might not get pulled till they're up like 42. And so, 6 touchdowns. Do we think 3 could be passing? Yeah, like, I think that's a real possibility. Yeah. And then the last one is, we were kind of having this debate earlier, and I think it's kind of interesting. The CJ Carr lower 6.5 rush attempts. Yeah. I don't think they're going to run him at all. I know that that's what they did week 1. They didn't do it as much last week, and he just isn't a good runner. Like, yes, you have to worry about sacks, I guess in this number, but like, I don't think Purdue's getting home. So are they going to run him 7 times? I don't think so.
Yeah, I actually just put one in for a bunch of these right here. That Sam Levin's did go up, so I actually pivoted off of his 250.5 pass yards. It's up to 255 now. I'm sorry, 254. So I actually pivoted to his, he also has an 0.5 rush plus receiving touchdown. I think he could use his legs today against Baylor a lot, especially with the way, again, that offensive line has been pretty bad. So I put those in there today. All right. We'll run through the rankings one more time here, and then we'll pick the games and try and get you guys out of here. I think last week we ran a little bit long. That's because you guys know me. I love to talk. So we'll run through these rankings, and then me and Chris will pick the games. We'll get through quick because I see Austin's in the chat. But he hasn't put his game picks in yet. That might be because of his record, which we'll discuss here in a minute. So real quick, running through the rankings one more time. Number 1, John Mateer. For quarterback, week 4, John Mateer. Number 2, Joey Aguilar. 3, Taylon Green. 4, Haynes King. 5, Damon Williams. 6, Jaden Mayava. 7, Parker Navarro. 8, Devin Dampier. 9, Maverick McIver. 10, Sawyer Robertson. 11, Byron Brown. 12, Josh Hoover. 13, Bo Perbula. 14, Owen McCowan. And 15, Drew Mestamaker. At number 16, we have Cedric Bailey, 17, Baron Morton, 18, Cade Klubnik, 19, Carson Beck, 20, Brad Jackson, 21, Thomas Castellanos, 22 is Blake Shapen, Fernando Mendoza is at 23, Jalen Daniels at 24, Dante Moore at 25, Bishop Davenport at 26, Anthony Calandria at 27, Garrett Nussmeyer at 28, Bryson Barnes at 29, and Chandler Morris at 30. Starting off with the running backs, you got Bryson Washington at 1. At 2, you have Jonah Coleman. 3, Waymon Jordan. 4, Al-Jay Henderson. 5, Emmett Johnson. 6, Dalen Smothers. 7, Justice Haynes. 8, Keewan Lacey. 9, Robert Henry. 10, Ahmad Hardy. At 11, you have Jeremiah Love. Isaac Brown comes in at 12. Jamari Taylor in at 13. Wayshawn Parker at 14. And Chip Trayanum at 15. At 16, you have Cameron Cook. 17, Kentrell Bullock. 17, Daniel Highshaw Jr. 19, Bryson Donaldson. 20, Lincoln Parr. 21, Jamal Haynes. 22, Jeremiah Cobb. 23, Cam Edwards. Mike Washington comes in at 24. Mark Fletcher in at 25. LJ Martin in at 26. Sutton Smith at 27. Say Bangura in at 28. Ty Edwards at 29. And to finish out our top 30 running backs, you have Anthony Hankerson there at 30. At the wide receiver position, you got Jordan Tyson here at 1 again. Number 2, Danny Scudero. Number 3, Chase Hendricks. Number 4, Bryant Westco. Number 5, Devin Voisin. Number 6, Denzel Boston. Number 7, Bo Sparks. Number 8, Jordan Dwyer. Number 9, Mekhi Lemon. Number 10, Junior Vandeross. Coy Eakin comes in at 11 with Brendan Thompson at 12. Omega Blake at 13. Hank Beatty at 14. And to round out the top 15, you have Missouri's Kevin Coleman. At number 16, you kick it off with Oklahoma's Deion Burks. Then at 17, Malachi Toney. 18, Skylar Bell. 19, Deuce Robinson. 20, Elijah Surratt. Chris Brazel comes in at 21. Keyshawn Singleton at 22. Josh Cameron at 23, Devin McEwen at 24, 25's Terry Lockett Jr., 26, Trent Walker, 27, Cooper Barkate, 28, Matthew Berry, 29, Harrison Wallace, and 30, Musa Berry. And then to finish it out with the tight ends real quick, Eli Stowers at 1, Justin Jolie at 2, Kenyon Sadiq at 3, Terrence Carter at 4, Jaron Kanik at 5, Michael Trigg at 6, Eli Reardon at 7, Dan Villari at 8, John Michael Gillenborg at 9, Brett Nortfleet at 10, Dorian Fleming at 11, Matthew Lauder at 12, Jack Andrees at 13, Jackson Warren at 14, and then Seydou Torre at 15. All right, Chris. We've got a bunch of good games on the docket, but we picked 5 to recap what we are doing on the season. Last week, picking the 2 big upsets was really big for me in getting the Texas A&M and the Georgia Tech boosted me up over 500. I'm at 8-7. Chris, you were at 7-1. Colin dropped to 7-8, and Austin bringing up the rear here at 5-9-1. It was not a
Pittston.
I think that's exactly why he didn't put his picks in. He's going to wait and be like, look, guys, I got everything right this week. So we're going to start at number 17, Texas Tech, at number 16, Utah. Utah getting 3.5 points. Chris, which way are you leaning?
So I'm going to go with Texas Tech here. And I think it's going to be a pretty tight game. The hook kind of is why I ended up going with the Red Raiders. I've been impressed with their defense, and that I think is going to be a big part of why they keep this game close. The defensive line's been really, really good. And I already know the offense was great. So I know it's a tough place to play in Rice Eccles. I get it. Like, Utah home advantage is real, but it's not a night game. It's an early kickoff. That negates it at least a little bit.
Yeah, I'm taking Texas Tech as well. I think this is going to be a very close game. I would not be surprised if it's like whether it's like a field goal to win it at the end for Utah or what, but I think Texas Tech will be in this game. I think it's going to be one of the better games of the weekend, so I'm leaning Texas Tech. Colin took Utah. Again, no pick from Austin. Next, we have number 22 Auburn at number 11 Oklahoma. Oklahoma getting 6.5 points. Look, we've talked about it all show long. I think Oklahoma, it's weird because I don't think they have anything against Jackson Arnold like a personal way, but I do think that they want to win this game. Jackson Arnold coming back to Oklahoma. Brent Venables, look, a lot of people were high on Oklahoma coming into the year. A few of us here were kind of down on, but I think Oklahoma rolls Auburn here. I think they win fairly easily. They're getting 6.5. I think they win by at least 10.
Yeah, I like it under a touchdown too. I just think the defense is going to be there. I don't think Jackson Arnold's any good. Like, he hasn't done enough passing to impress me. And I think we've seen everything we want to see from the Oklahoma offense. So under touchdown, fire away.
And Colin takes Oklahoma as well. Next, we have number 9 Illinois at number 19 Indiana. Indiana getting 5.5. Giving 5.5, right?
No, they're favored by 5.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
I just think Indiana is the more complete roster, and I don't know that Illinois has really given an effort that can show me they can hang with Indiana within 4 points. I just think Indiana has an incentive to also score as much as they can here. There's no foot off the gas kind of situation. And I think Allmeier's better than he's ever been, but I just think the supporting cast around Indiana skill position is better.
Yeah, first off, let me say, love you, Austin. Thank you. Austin did get his picks, and he's taking Utah and Oklahoma. He is taking Illinois in this game, going opposite of the three of us. All three of us are taking Indiana. Arizona State at Baylor. Baylor is favored by 2.5 points. I'm taking Arizona State. I actually do think that they have a chance to win this. It's not easy going to be able to go into Waco and win at Baylor, but I believe in Kenny Dillingham and Sam Leavitt. I think, Sam Leavitt's worst game was Mississippi State. He's looked fairly good, I think, on the season outside of that game. I think that they find a way to get it done in this one. So I'm taking Arizona State, as is Austin.
Yeah, it's going to be a high-scoring game, but I like Baylor. I've been really impressed with Sawyer Robertson. It's really hard for me to get that Sam Leavitt performance out of my head. So,
that's fair.
That honestly what was the driving decision in a close game like this.
Yeah. And Colin took Baylor as well. And then the last game we are going to be doing, Michigan State at number 25, USC. USC favored by 18.5 points. Who you got, Chris?
Yeah, I think that USC rolls them.
I'm picking USC, but this is the one I feel the least confident about. Because I feel like Aiden Childs has had moments. My biggest fear is they're traveling across the country to play USC at the Rose Bowl and it's a nighttime game too. So like that's going to throw off the body clocks and everything. USC has looked impressive this year. I think my biggest thing is I don't love Michigan State's running game. I felt like if they had a better running attack, this would be closer. I think you're going to sweat this one a little bit because 18 and a half is a lot, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Trojans, as is Colin. Go ahead.
No, I understand that sentiment. USC looks so good on both sides of the ball.
They have, yes, they have. They haven't played anybody either, though. That's my big fear. Like Boston College isn't like, the top tier of college football, but that Michigan State's been challenged, and they outside of that first game, I feel like Childs and the offense has actually looked good. This will be USC's first true test. We'll see what Lincoln Riley really and USC really is. That's what I said. 18 and a half, it's a lot. I'm having trouble coming to grips with the 18 and a half, but Austin's taking Michigan State. So Austin thinks it's going to be a little bit closer than that. I want to, but you know what? I've got the lead right now. I can play around a little bit. I'm gonna keep USC for now, even though I love Aiden Childs and Michigan State. Guys, thank you again so much for tuning in with me and Chris. We apologize for the technical issues we were having at the beginning of the show, but we were able to get through it. Week 4 football is here. We look forward to all of you guys joining us again next week, week 5. Good luck to all your fantasy teams and enjoy the games today. Talk to you guys again next week.